Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Can I be honest with you? This is the third time I'm recording this and I'm this close to crying. Yeah. But I love you guys. I love what we do here and I just want this video to do well. So 5,000 likes, subscribe to the channel, let me see those numbers go up, let me have that little dopamine hit and let me move on with the rest of my life. This is the Fallout, where we put forward tactical elements or the most interesting elements from the game week. This week there's some absolute beauty, so stick around. I think you're going to really enjoy it and find it really insightful. The Premier League is getting so juicy now. Let's kick off straight away with Everton versus, that is the Serie A, what on earth, Everton versus Liverpool. Fascinating game. Question straight off the bat: have Liverpool been let down when it comes to transfer recruitment? Because apart from goalkeepers having wonderful performances, which occurred, and actually there are a few caveats in this game, I would say, and we'll dive into those. But 0-0. 1.72 to 2.19. Everton, of course, come away from the game feeling much happier about the game. 39% possession to 61% for Liverpool. 23 shots to 14. So quite effective in terms of having some sort of attacking output in this game at Goodison Park. And it was a belter. A really good 0-0 game. Of course, Cody went hard with those celebrations, but he was offside, so be it. But apart from the goalkeeping positions, the game was sort of drawn or won and lost for Everton's point of view, because my mate, who's an Everton fan, yeah, we won. No, you didn't win, you drew, mate. You drew. But it felt like a victory because of this midfield three. And actually, when we're talking about recruitment, Everton, I get it. You know, we said this at the start of the season, or the start of the window, Everton have to improve this midfield. And actually, it'll be interesting to see if it's more important than the forward positions. Maupay, of course, has come in as well. I thought he struggled in the game, if I'm honest. You want Dominic Calvert-Lewin back, but Maupay is Premier League quality? Another question for the comments there. But it's about that midfield three. And I was really impressed. I think they made it very difficult for the opposition. I really like Iwobi, and who works this channel, shows great tenacity. Tom Davies, I thought, looked better, I think, with some legs around him in Iwobi and Onana. And Onana is the guy that we really do need to talk about when we talk about new signings, of course. Onana played in two different positions in this game and played brilliantly in both, and it's options that Lampard has, which is really nice. You know, this looks like quite a sort of open back four here, but actually there was a lot of protection. Tom Davies working hard, Iwobi working hard, but Onana really stopping anything that sort of made its way through there. But overall, actually, the way that Everton set up, they made sure that there wasn't much space in the middle of the pitch. They had to go round the sides, which you think would be a problem, but the sort of hard work of the team and the organisation, utilising Cody and Tarkowski as those two centre-backs, I think is something that Everton fans can be quite pleased about. When we talk about midfield threes, let's have a look at Liverpool's, because for Liverpool, it was a struggle. It really was a struggle. They did struggle to sort of move up the pitch and cut through. Liverpool are known as sort of, you know, having such an industrious midfield, but in Elliott and Carvalho, you got two players who are incredibly young and struggled. It felt like, you know, a bit like the Man United game, they sort of smelt blood a little bit, Everton here, and yeah, the midfield three were absolutely brilliant. Let's talk about Onana once again before we finish off on Liverpool and the problems that are there. So good for them, you know. And like I said, what's interesting here when it comes to the heat map is, so in terms of duels, which is important, you've got to win your battles. He got around the pitch, I've said a couple of times, as you can see from his heat map here, but that's also down to a little tweak in the team. 8 of his 11 ground duels he won, which is really impressive, but he's also exceptional in terms of releasing the ball. He only misplaced 2 of his 26 attempted passes against Liverpool. And when you look at his heat map here, you sort of feel like, God, wow, he was everywhere. But actually the change was Idrissa Gueye came onto the pitch, played at the base, and so Onana was sort of dealing with this area for the bulk of the game, but then he was able to sort of show that athleticism and get further up the pitch and be a bit more of a box-to-box in a midfield three, sort of Yaya Toure vibes, if I'm honest. So I'm really excited to see what happens. I think he's got a huge part to play, but where that part will be, I mean, it gives them options. You've got, you know, Garner can sit there as well. They've got a lot of midfield options all of a sudden, and when you have Garner, Onana, Iwobi I like, and Idrissa Gueye. It's going to be interesting to see what Lampard does and who becomes the sort of the key men in that midfield three. But Onana will have to be in there because he offers so much for a team that had so little mobility for so long. Klopp, has he been failed by the club? The one thing I would say is you scroll down, and if you take a long-term approach to this, there are red flags, but there's also an understanding that, you know, you're not expecting Thiago Alcantara, Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jordan Henderson to all be out for this game. That hurts. That's going to sting. And so you kind of are left with what you're left with. But unable to get up the pitch, that's a problem. And Alex Iwobi had 16 touches in the final third for Everton. That's more than Elliott. That's more than Fabinho. That's more than Carvalho. The second thing that I would say is that, you know, a couple of big chances missed. They hit the woodwork 3 times, Liverpool. This could have been one where we go, you know, that quality from Salah was just that little bit too much. It could have been one of those kind of games if Pickford doesn't have the game that he does have. The other positive, I think, is that you can see what he's trying to do when it comes to Darwin Núñez and what he will provide. And I do think that will bear fruit for this Liverpool side. I think they're not where they want to be, but they've also not got who they want. Get Artemelo in this side quickly, and if you can acclimatise and allow the team to move up the pitch and allow Harvey Elliott to be higher up the pitch, you then have someone like Darwin Núñez who does stretch it for them in a big way. It makes the opposition think about what's happening in behind. It also allows Salah to be higher up the pitch and closer to the box. I think that will bear fruit at some point. But overall, it's a team that's just not what it was, simply, and has had a lot of problems along the way. Brentford 5, Leeds United 2. The XG 2.43 to 1.9992 to Leeds United in this. Brentford, are they sort of getting to the perfection in terms of the ceiling of what they can do? Because what I really like about this team is it's just been well put together. The names maybe aren't there, but you've got people who provide certain strengths that are needed at certain times to make a team that, as I said, and keep an eye on this, they often are in a better place when it comes to XG in comparison to their opponents. Because this is fascinating, right? If you think 2.43 XG, the goals come from, when we look at the momentum bar, come from those, you know, those strong passages of play. But when we look at the statistics, and I know possession doesn't mean anything, of course it doesn't, but 31%, they're getting 14 shots from that. It's fascinating, really. You know, the amount of passes, 218 passes in this game, and they've scored 5 goals. 488 for Leeds United, who are quite a possession-based side at this moment in time. 69%. Really fascinating, that. But as I say, and we've spoken about this so many times on the fallout, for me, Ivan Toney, it's one of those, and let me know in the comments, because every team has it, and you know when you've played well and you know when you've played bad. There's certain things that will happen. For QPR, back in the day, it was like, if Jamie Mackey's in the team, we're probably not that good. Certainly in the Premier League, because he's someone who's quite limited. But with this, with Ivan Toney, we've been saying it for a long time. Can you get him central? Can you get him higher up the pitch? The higher up the pitch he will be, the more effective he will be. Now, the goals that he scored, I know came from a penalty and a free kick. And we will talk about Leeds and their defensive woes in this game, because that's something to be concerned about. But overall, the balance of the team is really nice. I like what's happening with the fullbacks here, and in previous episodes of the Fallout, you will have remembered Rico Henry's actually been back here at times, being a bit more defensive. Aaron Hickey's actually been up here. So depending on the opponent and how they want to try and hurt them, or what they offer down the other end, for example, with Leeds United, you've got someone like Harrison, who's super high up actually against them. So that meant that Hickey had to stay back that little bit more. So it means you've got 2 balanced fullbacks who can get on or defend depending on what the task is needed in front of them. But they are able to facilitate play. And as I say, in previous seasons, Mbeumo's been higher up and here, and it's been Ivan Toney dropping deep to get on the ball. But with the quality that they've got and the ability to go wide with it as well, it's still an industrious midfield. But it's a team that has more balance and is able to work up the pitch and allow their best player to be higher up on the pitch. For Leeds United, there is something to worry about, I've got to be honest, because if you can bypass the press, and we spoke about the lack of passes that they had, they were able to go route one, or be direct, be vertical, however you want to put it. For Leeds, you've got to be concerned about that back line. And when we're talking about recruitment, and if they've completely got it right, this might be the area where we go, I'm not so sure. Because once you get past that initial press, if you can do so, and there'll be games where it works for Leeds, and so I think they'll be absolutely fine this season, and I think they've got quality going forward. Sinistera scored another goal, looks like a real find for them. The back four is a concern for me because they don't really win their duels, or they certainly didn't win their duels. And maybe this comes back to the system that and the profile that Brentford have. But Struijk, let's have a look. Aerial duels 1-2, ground duels 1-1. Llorente, ground duels 1 less than 50%, 1-2 of his aerial duels. Well done. Bit of cock. A nice block at the start of the game actually for him. Cock block. Wins 1 ground duel, 2 aerial duels, but on the floor you're able to get past them, and a little bit better from Cody Drummond. But overall, you want your defensive side to be winning those duels, and they're not, and that is a problem. More importantly, the big moments they're getting wrong, and it's the basics. The basics are getting so wrong. Let's have a look at screenshots from Ivan Toney's third goal. This is schoolboy from Leeds. You get taught when you're playing under 8s that, one centre-back goes, one drops off. And on 2 occasions, they got this wrong. But first of all, you've got this screenshot. You can see like both going for the ball, just leaving miles of space in behind. It's shambolic. It really is. And then Mbeumo's goal, similarly, we know how Brentford play. If a ball is up in the air and he's not going to be able to chest it down, Mbeumo will be looking to get him behind. It's too simple. It's too easy. One long ball, a flick on. It can't be happening. And that can't be happening for Leeds. Especially, they need to work as a pair much, much better, because there are going to be moments where it is just the two of them because of the way that Leeds play. So that cannot be happening. And maybe that's an area where they've kind of let themselves down a little bit. Maybe they've run out of money. They were maybe focusing on scoring goals down the other end and getting themselves a striker. But in terms of recruitment, a centre-back, or maybe even a left-back, but in particular a centre-back, is an area that maybe needed sorting out. And maybe that will change once left-back comes in. But, I mean, who's that going to be? Because they weren't able to get one over the line. Forest against Bournemouth. 21 new arrivals for Nottingham Forest. The XG in this 3-2 game, Bournemouth winning 3-2, of course, 1.9 to 0.78. Let's start off with Nottingham Forest. Now, with Nottingham Forest, I did a video on this quite some time ago. It was Lampard at Chelsea, actually. And we were talking about overchoice and having too many options. And when you have too many options, you're sort of trying a load of things. Whereas sometimes you can just if you have less options, you can drill down on what you believe is right. And this is where Forest have lost me a little bit. 21 new arrivals is way too many. Steve Cooper I think has the capability of bringing a team together. But it was very clear last season in what worked. It was a 3-4-1-2. And the profile of players that were coming in initially completely fitted it. Likes of Awani, the wing backs that came through the door, Nico Williams as well. You thought, okay, we're going to play the same way, but with better quality players. My concern now is when I look at this team, I look at the personnel, I look at the bench as well. You've got a lot of players, and you're going to have some players who are going to be really pissed off pretty soon. And in terms of the average positions for the game, this was actually a 3-5-2, really. And my concern would be, is there just an element of confusion where, okay, do you want to try some new stuff? That's fine. You're kind of losing the stability of the system that really got them where they wanted to be. And then you're also going to start to, because you've got too many options and you're going to feel obliged to play them, you're going to start to crowbar players that might be fine in these positions, but not are truly playing where they want to play. As I say, 3-5-2 this felt like. Brennan Johnson, for example, one of the few that sort of remains, he actually, would get on the ball here a lot more, but seemed to be sort of being sort of right in behind, playing as that advanced forward, trying to get in behind, which is fine. But then you got someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, who's come through the door. You had bought Awani last year. What went so well for them was Keenan Davis was playing. And Keenan Davis would sort of occupy centre-backs. Morgan Gibbs-White isn't really that kind of player. And when you play Morgan Gibbs-White in that position, that means you can't play Jesse Lingard in the position that he wants to play. He had 6 touches in the attacking third, Lingard. That's not what you want, and not why you've bought him. So you're starting to put players into positions where, do they really want to be there, or is it just a case of kind of crowbarring some of these guys in? For me, Freuler is one of the more experienced players and a player that needs to be in this side, in my opinion. Does that mean you sort of let go of Ryan Yates? I don't know, but maybe you want to kind of utilise his energy. He would knit that midfield together much better. For me, Morgan Gibbs is the thing. Morgan Gibbs White I would take out. I would play Dennis or I would play Awani. You brought him in for a reason. Regardless of what he wants to do, you've got so many new players here. You could start afresh. But that's going to take time to sort of bear fruit as well. And the ability to maybe utilise these exciting wing-backs in Loddy and Williams, the best way to do that, again, is maybe to allow someone like a Morgan Gibbs-White or a Lingard to be that one in that 3-4-1-2. That's the route that they need to go down, I think. But what's difficult is that, again, so many players, so many wing backs in terms of the depth chart on both sides, so many midfielders who are going to want a game, so many attacking midfielders who are going to want a game, so many forwards who are going to want to play a game. It's too many. And it concerns me. Steve Cooper is going to have to make some big decisions and he's going to have to annoy some people. And when you're trying to sort of ingrain a culture into a club, it's going to make it really, really difficult. I think in terms of emotional intelligence, Steve Cooper's right up there. So he might be able to find it, but it feels like maybe gone past a tipping point that I'm not totally comfortable with. But at least they have options. They do have options. On to Bournemouth. And with Bournemouth, they need to just stay in the game. I think that's the thing. It's not about performances. It's about points for Bournemouth. They've kind of not made their bed. They've gone a little bit more pragmatic, not just chucked money at it. And can they win their duels? Can they stay in the game? Can they utilise the quality that they do have? And if they are going to play back four, this is what they need to do. They need to create a bit of a box. Yes, Forest were more dominant in this game, sure. But they need to hang in there. This, for a lot of people, would feel like it's not good, right? Because you're not stretching the play. But that's not what Bournemouth want to do. They want to be compact. You've got two players who can get on the ball in terms of Pearson and Lerma, but importantly, provide that protection for the two centre-backs if you are going to play that back four. And then with Solanke, you've got someone who can win a header. Kiefer Moore can come in and do the same thing. Philip Billing can get involved as well and both be a midfielder but also be someone who can run beyond and win headers for the team as well. Tavernier can drive in behind as well. Christie can relieve pressure as well. It's not going to be pretty for Bournemouth this year, but I think you've got to kind of understand that and accept it. And so if you are going to want to win games with an XG of 0.78, you've got to keep the other side down. And you've got to stay in the game in the first half. That's going to be the big thing for Bournemouth moving forward this season. But a huge, huge game for them, a huge result for them. And the important thing here is 13th in the table, 7 points. Keep picking up points. Understand that you will get slapped here and there. And keep moving forwards. It's all you can do. Aston Villa versus Man City, 0.34 XG to 2.10. Let's go to this game. Interesting. Gerrard, is he safe now? Does that mean everything's rosy? Not for me. I feel like this game is often an anomaly when you're playing Man City. Now, it's fair to say what I do like is his comments after the game, and he's talking about no one gave us a chance, creating that siege mentality, trying to get that inspiration and personality from this team, because you have a very talented squad here, but it's one that's been playing with very, very little personality at this moment in time. In terms of the stats from the game, 28% possession, which look, is what it is, right? 3 shots, 1 on target, XG of 0.34, as we said. 4 big chances conceded, 203 total passes completed, down the bottom there, and 1 pass into the penalty area. So, granted, they scored a goal that was ruled offside incorrectly. Get into the refereeing. I tell you what, quickly, West Ham, that is an utter disgrace. I don't know how that got, it just stinks. Newcastle stinks. Place the goal was disallowed, and this one, of course, is wrong as well. But people are getting spun into a bit of a mess now at this point when it comes to VAR. I can't be asked to talk about it. More importantly, is going to be future games when Gerrard's team has to create something create something for themselves. Sorry. what they did here is they went with legs. Gerrard said this himself as well, and allowed them to be that little bit more vertical when they did have the ball, which kind of gave them the ability to create something, I guess, but they didn't create a lot. It's the games against Bournemouth, games against Palace, the teams they should be attacking. Can he get this team flowing and cutting through the opposition? Whereas actually a game like this, when you're making it about legs, that kind of works for some of these guys. They did work hard, and the depth of this here, this shape doesn't look great, right? But the understanding, of course, is the fact that, you know, the way that Man City played, they played down that left-hand side. And so to have someone like McGinn working on the other side, he's got the energy to cover a lot of the time, and it allowed those players to stay deeper. Digne tried to push on as well to offer them something down the other side. But look, they hung in there. They hung in there, but is he out of the woods? Not for me. Man City... Anything to worry about with Man City? One thing to be intrigued about, and I think to stay on top of, and I think generally it will mean that they'll be absolutely fine. What I would say is that this was a game where they had an XG of 2.1, only scored 1, conceded 0.34, so there's nothing really to worry about realistically. One aspect to highlight in the game, which I think is interesting, is Haaland's stats. Now, not his goals, of course, or shots or any XG metrics, but just how important he has become to the team. Check this out. So this is from FB Ref. He is heavily the target of progressive passes. So on 45 occasions, they were looking for him. You know, and this isn't the centre-back that you're looking for. This is we're trying to get the ball forward, right? Only 19 of those found Haaland. So usually City sort of take care of the ball, passing, play high percentage passes to find their players. Now with Haaland, they're almost trying to sort of force the issue sometimes with him. And as you can see from his percentage in comparison to the others, it's much, much higher for the other guys. So what I wonder with that is, okay, you've got the quality of players to do that, but if Haaland has a quiet night, or actually the midfield has a quiet night, or more importantly, if it starts to become telegraphed that they're looking for Haaland at every moment or often, could that blunt them just a smidge? I think there'll be other games where they just absolutely destroy a team because they are able to find him. But it's something to keep an eye on, because it's very, very clear that they are looking for Haaland all the time. Very different. And I guess that's the other thing as well. It'll be interesting to see, will it be one where the sort of shackles come off a little bit, or are they sort of looking and going, where's Haaland, in those games where they rest Haaland? Or do they play a similar way, try to find Alvarez, and maybe struggle because they don't have someone who's as dominant as Haaland is? Just a few things to keep an eye on. It's interesting, but not too much to worry about when it comes to Man City at this moment in time. And you would expect them to cruise past Arsenal at some stage this season. Right, Brighton against Leicester City. 5.2 was the scoreline. 2.76 XG to Brighton, 1.45. What's interesting here is a few things. Let's have a look. So first of all, the way that Brighton play, the way that Potter play, just so applaudable. It's fantastic. And if you think, both of these guys, in terms of their window, was disappointing, really, right? You know, Leicester obviously didn't sign anyone really of real note. Brighton lost Cucurella, they lost Maupay, they lost Bissouma, 3 big names at least for the team. The way that Potter's playing, I'm not sure there's many teams that can play like him. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And Brighton are unbearable for a limp Leicester City. We'll talk about Leicester City in a second, but I think, yeah, we just need to talk about how effective Brighton are, how progressive, how positive they are. Sorry. And the fact that the way they're playing, it's just like they have answers. Again, they are comfortable on the ball. They have fullbacks that are comfortable on the ball. It's brave. The fact that you've got a number 10 here in McAllister, who was phenomenal in this game. So good. But just real high energy when you haven't got the ball as well. And it means that you're sort of leaving 4 at the back. Yes, those guys will kind of tuck back in terms of the centre-back positions. But the energy of Mwepu and Caicedo, Welbeck working so hard up there, but he offers so much, has physicality, can hold up the ball, can run the channels for the team as well. Pascal Gross sort of dropping in to help out McAllister at times, using his vision. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And the game itself is interesting because Leicester City did have a bit of a sort of attacking verve in how they played initially, with Iheanacho looking to get in the channels, Patson Daka as well. But overall, they were so deep that they couldn't get themselves out. That's partly down to Brighton pressing well, but also just not the same. They don't know what they're doing, basically. And in particular, in the second half, they don't know what they're doing in games. And that is a massive, massive problem, because when we have a look at it, this game was 2-2 at half time. And in the second half, as you see with the momentum, Leicester City fall off a cliff again. This cannot continue to happen, because no team is too good to go down. And the stat that I think highlights it for me is the passing. 421 passes, and they were able to get 23 shots off, whilst Leicester made 360 passes, only managed 6. It's pretty aimless from Leicester City at this moment in time. Daka was able to get in behind in the first half, Iheanacho as well for his goal, brilliant running in behind. Second half, it was non-existent. Brighton went through the gears and just way too much for them. But Leicester City, they're about to announce record losses. And Brendan Johnson, fucking hell, I can tell I'm tired, can't you? Brendan Rodgers has lost 5 on the spin now. The last manager to lose 5 on the spin for Leicester City, Claudio Ranieri, and got sacked after the 5th defeat. The difference is, have they got the money to let Brendan Rodgers go? And is there a better manager out there who's unattached? There's not that many. The thing for me is, this feels a bit like when Gordon Strachan, it's a long time ago, guys, he was a manager of Southampton. They'd done really well, this sort of James Beattie era. And Gordon Strachan it got revealed, or he announced, I'm going to leave at the end of the season. And it killed them. And the parallel that has with Leicester City, in my opinion, is the fact that Leicester City as a club have gone, we're going to keep our powder dry, and we're going to save this money, and we're going to invest next season. So you're now in this sort of state of limbo where there's just not the jeopardy that's needed to find that grit, drive, and desire, in my opinion. So you've got a lot of players like Maddison's going, I think I'm not really feeling this, I might go. Or, the likes of Tielemans feeling the same way. You've got a defence where there's other players in the squad who wonder, am I going to be here in the long run? The body language is terrible. They're arguing with each other. And I also think they think they're too good to go down. And that's dangerous, because this is the toughest Premier League ever, by a mile. And if you're not at it, you're going to go down. And Leicester City, they need to be careful, because they could easily go down. Man United versus Arsenal, 3-1. I did a match reaction on this, so go check that out if you want 15 minutes of gorgeous narrative chat. But when it comes to the stats, the big thing here for me is that Ten Hag's recruitment is saving Man United at this moment in time. Let's go make our way over to that game. No, wrong. Oh, we'll find it that way though. Go on. It was a great game, I've got to say. Really enjoyable game. Interesting to see how Man United are, playing in that counter-attacking style. They're going to stick with that for the bulk of the season. Interesting to see how they're going to be able to break teams down. But these signings are so important for the rest of the season. And the fact that they're hitting the ground running is such a blessing for Man United and Man United fans, because I think we would have said it was a 6 out of 10 in the transfer window. I feel like you've got Eriksen on a free, wonderful, but you've spent too much on Anthony. You've not got Frankie de Jong, and it's been a difficult start for you as well. But let's talk about those 3 players, because Anthony, first and foremost, played, and we were surprised that he was going to start. 58 minutes for him, got himself a goal, which is just a perfect element. He's a bit like, we did a video on him as well, actually. So go check that out. We did it with Scouted Football at the start of the season, saying he was going to have a big year, he was going to be a big part of the conversation, because we expected him to go in the summer. That happened. It's gone to Man United. What we will see, and you see it from his heat map there, is that he will cut back. He does want to get on that left foot. He reminds us of Santos, Neymar, Neymar from the Santos days. He's going to offer up that flair. He's going to excite the fans as well. And he's got someone who's going to kind of go to the byline, but he'll come back and get involved. I thought the first goal, it was perfect for him. It's exactly what he would want. The ability to sort of just make his way with that left foot and finish it is absolutely perfect for them. Big season for him, because he has cost a lot. And what we want to see from him, I think, now is output. And it's on Ten Hag, but it's a great start. Such a great start for him. Lisandro Martinez. This guy deserves an apology. Lisandro Martinez deserves an apology from a lot of people, because I think we've all got our deficiencies, okay? And he does have his, and there will be concerns about him getting bullied. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on as the season progresses, because if Man United continue to play quite deep, is that going to make life difficult for him? There were moments where he did get bullied by Jesus, but did he score? No. And he's got a lovely tenacity about him, but he is insanely technical for a centre-back. And maybe that's where the focus needs to lie when it comes to Martinez. Not on the size, but on the strengths, which is the fact that he's just fantastic on the ball. So important for them in terms of bypassing the midfield at times. You know, McTominay's looked much better in games, and I think that's because the moments where you're seeing McTominay, it's because he's getting about players, he's, you know, winning the ball back, or he's getting the ball and then driving, because that's the best element of him. You know, in terms of having someone who's going to come and just pick up the ball and be that six, Casemiro will possibly be that and play it simply. But there's not too many of them. And Lisandro Martinez, what he offers is forward passes. And for him to be able to do that, to make 7 passes into the final third like he did in this game, it means that you don't have to play it to McTominay. And that's really, really important for the team. And also it leaves space in behind. And for a team that's very strong in the counter-attacking transitions, and Bruno Fernandes being able to play those passes, you've got someone who can kind of get the ball and cut through players and get the ball into the final third quickly, then that's a real asset for you to use. And Martinez has been really, really fantastic in this 4-game run for them, and will be huge in terms of, getting on the ball and playing those passes forward. Finally, I want to show you 2 heat maps, because this was a ding-dong battle, not your normal one, not your Roy Keane versus Vieira. It was Martin Odegaard against Christian Eriksen, and Christian Eriksen has been fantastic. I wasn't sure kind of why Man United. I thought he was going to be bit part, but I think he's actually integral. He's been integral in sort of different areas, picking up different pockets of the pitch and doing a job for the team. He seems very, very humble in what he does, but offers great quality as well. And here's Odegaard and here's Eriksen. You can see they kind of followed each other around a lot of the game. He sort of man-marked him and looked to disrupt Odegaard, which he did, not with tackles really, but just being in the right place at the right time. On the other side of it, if you think of that second goal, he sort of has that look, and he's found that little bit of space after keeping an eye on Odegaard, has that look, sees Bruno Fernandes, gets it, plays it quick. First goal, gets it, plays it quick. Really, really effective on the ball, but so effective in terms of safeguarding the team. Immense creativity and an amazing signing, and someone who, again, can play in a few different positions, which will be important both in-game and as the season progresses, be it in the Europa League or just generally when you're trying to kind of make a makeshift midfield, because they're not exactly where they want to be at this moment in time. It's going to be interesting to see what Casemiro does when he comes in. Final word I want to say is about Arsenal, because I think Arsenal deserve a mention, because I thought they were brilliant. And they're my favourite average position, if that makes sense. Because I think you know what they're going to do. And again, I've said this a few times. Knowing the answers and knowing those answers quickly is something that's so important, because you can, smarts versus speed, that's pretty dangerous. And with this team, I thought Saka was far better. Got himself a goal, but looked more effective, and actually got higher up the pitch for the team as well, which is good. He's actually been quite deep at times, been around this area, was able to get a bit higher up the pitch, seemed to sort of have his mojo back. Gabriel Jesus was, still just so exciting. Probably one of the most vibrant players in the league at this moment in time. And what I like about him is that his average position would imagine that he's, a bit of a Firmino type player. Absolutely not. He's popping up here. He's popping up here, of course. He's popping up in the penalty box. Can he get in the penalty box a little bit more and stretch it a little bit more? He's trying. He's doing a hell of a lot. Pops up over here. Will pop up over here. Absolutely everywhere. And they will win more games than they lose. And it's one of those where it was teetering towards smash and grab. It wasn't, but they were very dominant for a long time, and I think they can be pleased with that. Odegaard's going to be in this area of the pitch. You know where everyone's going to be. And I've got to be honest, Xhaka's role really, really interests me, and I'm starting to understand it. Starting to understand his role in this team, and I think Arteta's found a role that's absolutely perfect for him, because he's a smart player who understands positional play, not a great dribbler, not outrageously mobile, good stamina, but by putting me in this position, what it does is he facilitates the better players around him, gets the ball, knows what to do, knows where those players are going to be, because as I say, the average positions of Arsenal is pretty much the same every single time, but an understanding of the pitch. And at times, do I come here just to be a decoy? Do I come here just to safeguard the team so Zinchenko can play narrow? Do I come and play over here at times, again, to create space for Martinelli, who's going to drive? That's where you're really seeing the benefit of Xhaka. And Xhaka, I'm sorry. I get it. The other thing I would say is the great thing about having him higher up the pitch as well is if he does lose it or does have a moment, and he did actually have a moment on the halfway line where he was that last sort of line of midfield, he doesn't do that as much for Arsenal, and there's players in front of him, and so that means that he can't hurt the team or get caught like he has done in the past. So Arsenal are going to have a great season. Man United are starting to create those building blocks of confidence, and it starts with being strong defensively. So smart work from Ten Hag, maybe swallowing his pride a little bit, and also interestingly, Rashford, getting those goals. You've got a team that is going to scare the opposition going in behind, and that's something that with Ronaldo, I think teams are able to make the game a little bit more compact because they're not as scared of him going in behind. So exciting times, so many questions, so many interesting elements, and so many new transfers, of course, that I've got to bed in. Let me know how you feel about this. As I said, we've recorded this a few times, so be an absolute legend. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed and you watch the videos regularly, and importantly, hit the notification bell because I'm going to be going live and you will be notified, and therefore you won't miss out on some good fun. Thanks for watching. Speak soon.